Hello, everyone. Court is back in session. The dishonorable Judge Joleen. Objection. You're kind of honorable. Sustained. I am. Well, no, not really. Is back, and we are going to be talking today about reacting to the Jen McCabe testimony that's happening today in the Karen Read trial, Tuesday, April 29th. So grab a beverage. Hopefully you're wearing something very comfy. Please smash that like, and let's get this trial day started.
If you like what you see, come and get it with me. I know you deserve all you want, 'cause your heart's made of gold. But don't wait till you're old. If you want it, I get you some.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, stand-up comedian, Pop Culture Vulture. Joleen Lunzer here for another Judge Joleen, where we talk about true crime. Easy for me, it's a true crime and cases that are going on, trials that are happening right now. We are obviously, like the rest of the world, definitely in the U.S., covering the Karen Read trial. It starts very early in the morning. I'm on the West Coast, and earlier today, we had that Whiffen guy, I think his name was, the telephone expert. Poor guy. I mean, it was pretty boring. So I didn't go live during that. But now, this afternoon, after they got back from lunch in the Karen Read trial, we have Jennifer McCabe. And if you watched the first trial, you know that Jennifer McCabe's testimony, well, all the witnesses' testimonies were very, very interesting, we'll say. So she's back on the witness stand today. I believe Hank Brennan, the prosecution for the Commonwealth. He is doing the questioning, and then cross-examination, I assume, will be Alan Jackson, because he cross-examined previously. So that'll be interesting. But today we are going to be listening, reacting to, roasting what we do over here. We provide commentary and comedy. Since I'm a stand-up comedian, we find the funny. I am very opinionated, but that doesn't mean you have to have the same opinion. You're welcome to sound off in the live chat or the comment section, and we can just respectfully agree to disagree, like the honorable, dishonorable Tamara Judge.
That's my opinion!
It's just my opinion. So hello, happy Tuesday. Make sure you smash that like. Please hit that subscribe. It is a wonderful way to support the channel. It's also a free way to support the channel. If you hit that like, it lets the YouTube algorithm know that we're over here talking about the Karen Read trial as well. I know a lot of people are talking about it, but we have our own little community over here where we too are talking about it. And we, I don't know how many comedians are covering this case live, but add me to it. All right. So we're doing that. If you want to support the channel further or tip the channel, you're always welcome to send a super chat here on YouTube while we're live. It's a great way for me to see your comment, and I'll highlight it. And I appreciate every super chat. You don't have to. You can if you want to. And if you want bonus exclusive content and fun emojis to use in the live chat, check out my YouTube membership. Description has the link for that. I also have a Patreon where you can get bonus content. So those are just some of the housekeeping things. Okay. So we are about an hour or so behind in the Jen McCabe testimony. And I will be, pausing sometimes for reactions, things like that. I want you guys to sound off in the live chat. Let me know what you think, all your thoughts, hopes, dreams, and opinions regarding this trial and this testimony. Hello, Patricia. Yes, smash that like. Once I saw Jen McCabe, I was like, I better schedule the live. I wasn't sure if they were going to get to her today, but here we are. So we're about an hour behind. I'm going to start off streaming from Boston 10 and see how the sound is on that. If it's bad, we'll hop over to another live stream. So let's get this party started.
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car.
Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.
It is a mystery. You guys will be able to solve it. It is the Karen Read, Massachusetts versus Karen Read, the murder trial, dose number 2, the retrial. So for those of you who are new to following the Karen Read case, this is the second time that Jen McCabe has testified. Now she testified in the first trial, and now she's testifying here. So let's get this party started.
John's boyfriend, Karen Read, killed him.
Yep, John's boyfriend, Karen Read. Did she or did she not? That's what we will find out through this case, okay? All opinions welcome as long as we're just somewhat respectful. All right. Give me a thumbs up as soon as you can hear the audio. We're starting from the beginning. I might speed it up a little because in the beginning, she's just kind of giving her background, where she came from, all that. And then we get into the night of. The January night in 2022 and the bar and all the stuff. So give me a thumbs up as soon as you hear the audio for this.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. McCabe, I'd ask that you pull the microphone close, please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go right ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to?
Hi, I'm Jennifer McCabe, MCCABE.
Ms. McCabe, how old are you?
Okay, we're doing
I'm 49 years old.
super low. Okay, let me see if I can adjust it here. We might have to, sometimes this Boston 10, they don't have the greatest audio. So let me pull up, let's grab the court TV. I think there's this better court TV and watch it from there. Okay, let me pull that up. And let me just grab it to where she starts. All right. Thank you for your patience, you guys. Smash that like if you haven't already. All right. All right. Okay. I got the court TV. Let me know if the sound quality is better on this one. Who came in here? Oh, little Buffy bear, my little Buffy bear. So this is Commonwealth witness Jennifer McCabe, sister-in-law to Brian Albert, who's home where John O'Keefe's body was found in the front yard.
Where are you from?
I'm from Canton.
How long have you lived in Canton with your family for?
I was born and raised in Canton, and now I'm raising my family there.
So your family, their whole life, you've raised them in Canton?
1 year we lived in Stoughton with my daughter.
Who do you live with now?
I live with my husband and my 4 daughters.
Can you briefly give me a little bit more background on your children's school and your participation?
I'm going to speed it up to 1.4 as she describes just the background of her kids and being a mom and that. Not that that's not important, but we already know these things.
And interaction with your children, raising them?
Yeah, so I was a teacher, and then once I had children, I stayed at home with them and basically was just kind of like your typical, I don't know, small town mom. I was the room.
So right away, we're getting Jen McCabe's small town mom vibes. She's like, I'm just a mom, a small town mom, just a small town mom living in Canton where everybody knows each other and there might be a cover up.
Parent, I coached them.
No, I'll allow it. When we
Yes.
Got an objection?
When I coached, I drove the kids back and forth on my team, would take them places, etc.
In the growth of your family and raising your children, did you meet a gentleman by the name of John O'Keefe?
Yes,
Share with us meeting John O'Keefe.
sure. When my 3rd daughter was in kindergarten, she became friends with John's niece. And during that kindergarten school year, unfortunately, Kaylee's mother and father both passed away, and John moved in the house and became Mr. Mom.
Hi, Jip.
When John took over guardianship of the children, did you assist in an active role in helping him?
Thanks, graphic.
Yes, Kaylee and my daughter were very close. So she would come over and play. My daughter would go over there. Kaylee would come and have sleepovers. A lot of times it would be on Friday nights. I would have Kaylee, and then another individual would have Patrick.
Had you known John O'Keefe well before he took over guardianship of the children?
No.
During the time when he was the guardian of the children, did your relationship, not just with his niece and nephew, but with him grow any closer?
Yes, we became very good friends.
How close of friends did you become over the years?
Well, throughout the years, obviously, when they were younger, we talked more, just about the logistics of CCD, pick up, drop off, basketball, sports. But then he would also call me, about, as the girls got older, the girl drama or, the hormones and things like that.
The hormones.
He would also come over, and hang out and have a beer and, just talk about whatever was new in his life or going on, or, just the day in and day out struggles of his, life and raising the kids now and figuring it all out with, work and family and all that.
Leading into January 28th of 2022, so the jury understands, how close is your friendship with John O'Keefe at that time?
He was a very good friend of mine that I knew I could call for anything.
I want you to take us forward to January 28th, 2022. Do you remember that day?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember it well?
Yes.
Take us to the early morning hours, January 28th, 2022. Did you learn there may be weather or a storm coming?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
We all saw the report that there was going to be a big storm in nor'easter.
Nor'easter.
So we all knew that basically all the Saturday activities were going to be canceled.
That includes sports?
Yes.
So let's go down to the bar and get shit-faced is what they did. Yes. I prefer Brennan at the speed 2 graphics. Much better. Down the rabbit hole news. So good to see you again. This case is so intense and interesting. Are you covering this on your channel, Rabbit? I know you cover so many interesting cases, stuff going on, but I didn't know if you were covering this. But yes, it's so intense, so interesting. But if you are, everyone go sub to Rabbit. She does great stuff. I just dropped a link to join the channel as well, you guys, if you're interested.
Was and is the sporting events of the children a big part of your life?
Yes. Back then I had, 2 in high school that played 3 sports and they played club sports as well. And then the 2 middle school played club sports and town sports. So most of our weekends were taken up by kind of running from one sporting event to the next.
When you learned about the weather and the changing schedule, did it change your plans for that day?
No, not particularly. I had my day was pretty set out. I had my niece and then I had sporting events. It was kind of my plans for the next day that obviously got changed.
Take us through the afternoon of the 28th. What's happening?
Well, I had my niece for the weekend. She was picked up. My oldest was on the hockey team and she was having a team dinner at the house. So I picked up pizza, got desserts, set it up for them. And then I left with my daughters and my husband, Matt, and we met some of the parents from the high school basketball team at a local pub to grab a bite and a drink before the basketball game because my other daughter played on the high school girls basketball team.
What time was the basketball game set for that night?
I believe it was 6 or 6:30.
Did you and your family go to the game?
Yes, we did.
After the game, what happened?
After the game, I drove my daughter home. My sister, Nicole, sent me a text and said that she was going to be at the waterfall and it was my nephew's birthday. He was going to meet up and did I want to come by for a drink?
What is your nephew's name?
Brian.
Too many
Brian
Bryans.
Jr.
Too many Bryans.
It was his birthday that night?
Yes, it was.
When you received a call to meet with friends and family at the waterfall, do you remember what time that plan was made?
I don't. My sister sent me a text at some point letting me know she was going to be there. So I don't know what time.
After the game and after some time, did you go to the waterfall to meet your friends and family?
Yes, I did.
As in the chat.
Describe very briefly, what's the waterfall?
It's just a local town bar.
Do you remember about what time you got to the waterfall?
About 9 o'clock.
When you got there, was there anybody there that you knew?
Yes.
Okay, now take us inside the waterfall. When you get there, who do you see?
I walk in and I see Julie and Chris.
Okay, so now we're getting interesting because we're getting to the waterfall. They were at a couple establishments, the waterfall being one of them that night at the bar.
Chris Albert, my niece Caitlin, my sister Nicole, and my niece's boyfriend Tristan.
You said you saw Julie and Nicole Albert in the waterfall?
Yes.
Were you related to either of them?
Nicole is my sister.
So Brian Sr. would be your brother-in-law?
Yes.
Also, you mentioned there was a niece?
Yes, Caitlin.
Is that Brian and Nicole's daughter?
Yes.
You mentioned the name Tristan. What's his relationship to Brian Albert's niece?
He's now her fiance.
Oh,
Was there anybody else I missed?
awesome.
That's all who was there. I'm not sure if Nick Kolokitis was already in there when I got there, or if he arrived right after, and then his wife joined us.
So when you're in the bar,
Okay, quick observation. That is one hell of a cross on her neck. I know she mentioned CCD. I'm assuming maybe Catholic. I went to CCD. Also, Jen McCabe, she got a little sun. She got a little tan since the first trial. She looks tanner to me. Anybody else see the tan? Maybe spray tan? I don't know. But all right, Jen, get it. Hair longer and very much in the front. A little lighter version of Jennifer McCabe here.
you see your friends. What do you do next?
I immediately just, join them and sit down.
Were you eating, drinking?
I know I ordered a beer. They had appetizers on the table. I'm not sure whether I had any or not.
Were you drinking alcohol that night?
Yes.
Were they? Yeah,
As
they
you
were.
spending time with your family, did the night grow?
Yes.
Did you stay at the table where everybody was eating, or did you move inside the bar?
We were pretty much right around the table.
Hi, Shawanda.
Did anybody you knew join you or join the group at some point?
Yes. A little while later, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins joined us at the waterfall.
So when you first got there, was Brian Albert already there?
No, he wasn't.
Is that your brother-in-law, Brian Albert?
Yes.
And you said Mr. Higgins. Did you know Mr. Higgins?
I had met him a few times when he was out with Brian.
You had met him a few times before that night?
Yes.
Were you friendly with him?
Hey, witness.
He was a friend of Brian's.
Was he your friend?
No, he was Brian's friend.
You knew who he was?
Yes.
Oh shit, she's like, Brian Higgins, never knew him, don't know him, barely know him. Not my friend. That's Brian Albert's friend. She's lumping the Bryans together. She is separating herself. It's a separation of church and state, a separation of Jen McCabe and Brian Higgins.
So when Mr. Albert and Mr. Higgins joined the group later, did they come directly to you, or did they stay somewhere else inside the bar?
No, they came over to our table, I believe.
How long were you in the waterfall for that night?
Approximately 9 to little around midnight-ish.
About 3 hours?
Yes.
Do you have an estimate how many drinks you had, alcoholic drinks you might have had?
I don't. I don't know, maybe 2, 3.
Throughout the night, were you feeling any effects of the alcohol?
Not that I recall, no.
What?
When the group was together, you mentioned a number of people have joined. Were you joined by other people later?
Yes.
Who were you joined by later?
John O'Keefe and Karen Read.
And you talked about your relationship with John O'Keefe?
Yes, earlier, yes.
Did you make plans with him, or did he just show up?
I believe he had started the conversation about the night with Chris Albert.
Chris Albert is a different Albert than Brian Albert?
Yes.
How was the relationship between them?
Brian Albert and Chris Albert are brothers.
Was Chris Albert there when Mr. Higgins and Brian Albert arrived?
Yes. Actually, Chris, did I miss him? Because Chris was there with Julie. Did I?
Okay, we're getting the rundown of everyone who is there. So many Alberts. It's crazy. How many Alberts are there? And also, fun fact, Jen McCabe does not feel anything when she drinks copious amounts of alcohol. So I didn't feel a thing. Nope. She's impervious to alcohol.
I'm not sure if I said that when I was naming everyone at the table. I apologize.
You may have.
Okay.
So when you first
You should know. You're the lawyer, supposed to be paying attention to this, Brennan. He's like, you may have. Who cares? Doesn't matter. What are the details? I'm just the prosecutor here.
first got there, he was at the table with your
Yes.
sister.
Yes, he was.
When moments before John O'Keefe arrived with the defendant, what was the mood in the group?
Cheerful. Good mood. Everybody was just out having a drink. We all knew the storm was coming tomorrow, and just a typical average night.
Lulu.
Celebratory?
Yeah.
You said you were going to see
Yeah.
Brian Albert Jr. for
Yes.
his birthday. Was Brian Albert Jr. at the waterfall when you got there?
No, he was not.
Was Brian Albert Jr. there anytime when you were at the waterfall?
No, he was not.
Without relating a conversation with some other person,
You're
did you
involved.
have
Brian.
an understanding where Brian Albert Jr. was?
He was at home.
Did you historically or typically see Brian Albert Jr., your nephew, on his birthday?
Yeah, typically we always, get together. We try to and do a cake for whoever's birthday it is. And then whatever, aunts or cousins are around, come over.
When John O'Keefe arrived at the waterfall with the defendant, do you have a general estimate or guess, not guess, but a general estimate of what time they arrived?
Approximately 11.
When they first arrived, did you see them?
Yes.
Where did you see them coming from?
I saw them walk in.
When they walked in, did you react in any way?
Yes, I was happy to see them
Why were you happy to see them?
because I loved John and I liked Karen.
So you were happy to see John?
Yes, very.
And you were happy to see the defendant?
Yes.
She said, I love John. I like Karen. She's okay. Not anymore, though. She said, liked, past tense, does not like Karen anymore, believes Karen murdered John.
Do you remember your first interaction with either John or the defendant that night inside the waterfall?
I believe John walked over to where I was, kind of to my end of the table, and then maybe Karen had walked to the other end of the table. But I would assume I probably hugged both of them when I
Well,
saw them.
I'm going to ask you not to assume if you don't know. That's
Okay.
okay. You said that you had known the defendant as well.
Yes.
Do you remember how long she had been dating John O'Keefe up until that point?
I know I met her in July of 2020.
Had you had a chance to spend time or interact with her over that time before that night at the waterfall?
Yes, I had.
And share with us some of the moments or some of the reasons that you would interact.
The first time I met Karen, John had reached out. We would do pool days with him and his niece and his nephew. So he had told me he was dating a new girl and he wanted to bring her over. He said that she had multiple sclerosis. I also have multiple sclerosis. So he thought that that would be something we could, we would talk and bond over. I said, yeah, great, bring her over. So her and John and Kaylee and Patrick came over. We had a pool day. I liked Miss Read immediately.
That is kind of a weird thing. Like, you got MS, she's got MS. You're going to be MS besties. Like, not everyone with MS, not everyone with ADHD, not everyone who has a similar health condition is going to get along. But, maybe he was like, you're similar in age. You're dealing with this thing, but that is interesting. No, you're going to love her. You both have MS. Like, oh, okay, thanks.
I thought we hit it off. It was really great, talking to someone my age that also had MS, because I didn't really know a lot of people who have it. So it was really nice to have somebody to relate to. Then moving forward, we would see them, if it was my daughter's birthday party, when it was time for pickup, they would come in, have a couple drinks. Same thing for like a Halloween party, after basketball games.
So you spent time both with John and Miss Read?
Yes.
Did you spend time with the defendant separately without John around?
No.
Did you become friendly with her?
Yes.
And were you friendly that night?
Yes.
After John and the defendant entered the bar and you agreed, did you interact or spend time with Miss Read at the waterfall?
Yes, I did.
And speaking of the defendant, do you recognize her here in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Could you kindly point to her and describe an article of
Wasn't a
clothing
nice
she's
look.
wearing?
She's sitting right over there with a black shirt or a blue.
Is she between Attorney Jack?
Oh, Jen McCabe is like, she's sitting over there, black shirt, blue, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's a death stare. She hates that woman.
Yes, I do.
Could you kindly point to her and describe an article of clothing she's wearing?
She's sitting right over there
With the devil horns.
with a black shirt or a blue.
Oh,
Is she
faces, Jen.
between Attorney Jackson and Attorney Yannet?
She's like, ugh. Yeah, she's over there. She has the devil horns. She's the devil. She's a whore.
Yes, she is.
That look. Oh, it's like that charade to Nene on Atlanta. Ooh, not that face.
Clothing she's wearing.
She's sitting right over there with a black shirt or a blue.
Is she between Attorney Jackson and Attorney Yannet?
Yes, she is.
Oh, yes, she is. Right over there. Don't like her. Don't want to talk to her. That is that face with the devil horns.
When you were at the waterfall that night, do you
And a
remember
hair
who
flip.
you were speaking to or where you were spending your time?
As to earlier in the night or after?
I'm sorry, after Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant arrived.
Yes, Miss Read came over and spoke to me because I had seen her the Saturday before, and she had told me how she had started a new medication, and it was giving her some awful side effects. And I said, I'm shocked they put you on that, etc.
Let me not ask you about conversations you
Okay.
had, but about the moment that you were in. Did you spend time with Miss Read that night?
Yes, I did.
Inevitably, did you drink more alcohol as the night went on?
I believe
Girl, you all were shitty drunk. You all were drinking.
I had, like I said earlier, a couple of drinks, 2, 3, not sure.
That's like Karen Read's when she explains how many drinks she had. It's like, y'all drank a lot.
Did you ever have a shot of alcohol?
I do not believe I had the shot, no.
Did you see the party, the group of friends and family doing the shot?
I was in the bathroom and walked out, and they were doing or had just done a shot.
With the court's permission, I'd like to display parts of Exhibit 22, which has already been introduced into evidence, which is video surveillance footage from the waterfall.
Okay. Oh, video from the waterfall, you guys.
I'd like to start at 10:54:20, please.
Okay.
If you could just stop for 1 second. Do you recognize what's in that video?
Yes.
And what is that?
That is the waterfall.
Okay, kindly proceed.
This is the shittiest surveillance video. Why is it so cloudy? So many empty high tops. People were getting cut that night. Servers were definitely getting cut.
If you could stop. Do you see the two people entering from the left?
No one can see that. There is literally like a cloud I don't know what's going on. Cloud of smoke, cloud from the heavens. Something's happening.
I do.
Do you know who they are?
I believe that is Miss Read and John O'Keefe.
Ms. Gilman, is there any way to enlarge the top of the video where the other people are closer to the table or bar?
How can you tell?
No. Okay. Looking at this video, can you tell or identify anybody under that timestamp? And if you can't, that's okay. But if you can you tell us who you see?
I think the guy right there, well, where she just is Brian Higgins.
Okay. If you could go up a little bit, Ms. Gilman.
Why? Because it's a big guy. I guess that kind of looks like Brian Higgins.
I believe that's my husband, Matt, and
On the
then
right?
on the right, and I think that's me on the left.
Yeah, you could actually, if you look at that in the middle, that does kind of look like Jen McCabe. Even though cloudy, you can kind of tell it's her.
Okay. And if you can go down the table to the left, Ms. Gilman, you recognize who that might be from
That is a ghost.
the clothing?
I'd have to take a guess that
Okay,
it could
don't guess. It's
Okay.
okay if you don't. Anybody else at the table more to the left do you recognize?
not from this picture.
No.
Ms. Gilman, could you highlight where Ms. McCabe thinks that she is on that video with that circle you just had and play the video?
Yeah, it looks like the blizzard's inside, Otter says. It does.
If you could stop. Is that you clapping, Ms. McCabe?
Yes, it is,
Why are you clapping?
because I was happy to see them.
Both of them.
Yes.
How the hell can you see her clapping? What? Where is she clapping? How are they seeing this?
Okay. Could you continue, please? And who's that person walking right to left hugging people?
That is John O'Keefe.
Can you continue, please, Ms. Gilman?
We need a different view. Can't they like 4K this? Put this through an app?
Are you interacting with anybody?
I can't see where I am.
Okay. If you could stop the video, please. Could you move ahead to 11:26:50, please? 11:26:50. Is that your group still at the waterfall?
And a little clearer.
Yes, it is.
If you could stop.
As the night goes on, I feel like we're getting the beer goggles are helping maybe with this camera situation. Esther says, I know nothing about this trial, but I'm here for Joleen. Is there something I can watch to get me up to date? Yes, you can. If you want to see, there's a show on Max called Body in the Snow, I believe, if you have HBO Max. If not, you can check out multiple channels here on YouTube. With the Karen Read case, we know the trial channel has condensed versions, but I mean, it's a time consuming to catch up everywhere. But I think there's a 2020 episode, a Dateline episode to just give you like the bones of it. But yeah, those are just some of my suggestions. But if other people have other suggestions, feel free to put those in the chat for Esther.
There, Ms. Gilman. If we could hone in or circle where you were previously, where we saw Ms. McCabe. I know it's a bit blurry. If you can, and if you can't, please let me know. Can you see whether you're in that area?
I believe I am, yes.
Could you put the circle down just a little bit, Ms. Gilman?
That's a good one on Max.
If you could play from
And that one
11:26:50 to 11:27, please. We're a little bit ahead right now.
Thank you, Jewel. Objection
Who
too
are you having
cloudy.
I believe that's Miss Read.
Overruled. That's all we got.
Thank you. One more, Ms. Gilman. I'm going to ask you to move forward to 11:46.
Looks like Brian Alberts is wearing a starter jacket or a Harley sweatshirt. Brian Higgins. Did I say Brian Higgins? Oh, they're picking up the rugs. It's closing time. What's going on? Closing time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. I know who I want to take me home. I know
Could you
who
pause,
I
Ms. Gilman?
Oh, they're cheersing.
Could you circle in that same area where Ms. McCabe was
Case closed.
last describing? Can you make anything out in this video?
Yes, it looks like they're all, toasting or doing a cheer before they do a shot.
Can you see whether or not the defendant's in that part of the video?
Yes, it looks like she is in front of the man in the plaid coat.
Were you participating with the drinking at this moment?
I don't see myself in the video. I don't believe I was.
But you were drinking separately that night, weren't you?
Yes, I was drinking beer.
If you can
Yeah.
continue, please.
What kind of beer? Foster's, Australian for beer. Sam Adams. Oh, it's getting clearer. Oh, I think I see
Thank you.
Karen. Is that Karen on the end? Okay. That was someone.
Shortly after the shot, was there conversation about leaving the waterfall as a group?
Yes, there was.
Was there any discussion about where the group should go?
At first, Miss Reed was asking if we could go up the street to D&E.
What's D&E?
D&E is a sub shop that's owned by Chris Albert.
Was it open that late at night?
Oh.
No, it wasn't.
Had you in the past gone to that pizza shop after hours to eat?
Yes, we had.
And tell us what the defendant was saying?
She just kept asking, can we go up to D&E? Can we go up to D&E? She wanted just to go up and, Chris makes food and then
Man, every time they describe something that Karen said, they always act like Karen says it over and over again. They're like, it's the I hit him with my car. I think I hit him or whatever the thing was that they kind of changed from 2 to 3. And now it's like, can we go to D&E? Can we go to D&E? Can we go to D&E? I need to see English.
we were going to go she wanted us all just to go up there and eat and hang out.
That wasn't an uncommon occurrence for the group to sometimes go to that pizza shop after hours, was it?
No,
She talks
Did
to
the group decide to go to the pizza shop?
they decided they weren't going to go.
Was there a different plan made?
Before Brian Albert left, he said to the group, hey, we're going to go back home and have a beer with Brian Jr. If anyone wants to come by.
When you received the invitation to the group to go back to Brian Albert's house, did you decide whether you're going to go home or go back to your sister's house?
Yes, I decided I was going to go to my sister's house.
Without saying what was said, was there any discussion in the group among the participants about going back to your sister and Brian Albert's house?
Everybody seemed to want to go back.
Did anybody object to going back?
No.
Had you been to your sister's house before?
Yes.
Many times?
Yes.
Do you know the address of where your sister lived?
Yes.
And so
We all do.
after that
We report their
conversation,
view.
did you stay at the waterfall for a little bit or did you leave immediately?
Probably left after maybe 5-10 minutes.
Without saying what was said, before you left, did you have a chance to speak to John O'Keefe?
I did. Yes.
You spoke to him inside the waterfall?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to speak to the defendant?
Yes.
And was your plan to go back to your sister's house?
Yes.
Before you left, did you have any understanding whether or not Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant were going to join you?
Did you have another understanding regarding that?
Yes.
And what was your understanding?
They were They were coming.
Who else was going to go back to your nephew and your sister's house?
Brian Higgins and my niece Caitlin.
A little after 12, did you leave the waterfall?
Yes.
Do you remember that night leaving?
Yes.
Before you left, did you talk to anybody in particular?
Yes. Miss Reed and then Mr. O'Keefe.
Did you speak to them inside the waterfall?
I walked out with Miss Reed and we spoke at the doorway and then John joined us.
Did you invite Ms. Reed to come with you?
I did. Yes.
Did she decline?
Yes.
And who did you go to your sister's house with? Who drove?
I drove and I went with my husband, Matt.
Anybody else?
No.
Do you remember about what time it was that you were speaking to Ms. Reed about going to your sister's house?
After midnight.
If I could have Exhibit 22 again.
After
Ms. Gilman, if you could
midnight.
take us to 12:10:36.
Lucinda, I have not watched JFK on YouTube. They show the waterfall video, and Higgins is trying to fight. I know about the fight with John.
Okay. You can stop it there, please.
Higgins called in. Oh, you called in one night? Oh my God. Can you send me the link for that, Lucinda?
Did you have a chance to talk to Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant outside of the waterfall?
Yes.
And do you know specifically what time you left the waterfall?
It was after midnight.
After midnight.
When you left the waterfall with your husband, you said you were driving. Did you stop anywhere along the way before you got to your sister's house?
No.
I peed on the side of the road.
Tell us what you see when you get to your sister's house. What are the weather conditions like as you're driving there?
It's starting to snow to the point where it's starting to accumulate. It's on your car. It's just, getting on the street.
Is it light? Is it heavy?
It's light at this point.
How long does it take to get from the waterfall to your sister's house?
5 to 8 minutes, depending on lights and weather, etc.
When you first get to your sister's house, while you're still in the car, describe what you see.
My wipers are on. I'm just looking out the window and it's snowing. It's dark.
Anybody in the driveway? Any cars in the driveway that you see?
Oh, when I pull up to my sister's.
Yes.
As I pull down the street, I take a left into the driveway, and there is a Jeep that's parked on the street, and there's maybe a couple of cars in my sister's driveway.
What do you do when you arrive at your sister's house?
I go in the house.
Now, there are a couple doors at your sister's house.
Yes.
Is there a front door?
Yes.
Is there a side door?
Yes.
Which one's closer to the driveway?
The side door.
What if she was like, there's no doors? You have to, it's interesting. You have to dig a hole, go in through a basement window. It's a process, but they got a deal on the house.
Which door do you go in when you get to your sister's house?
The front door.
Was anybody with you when you went in?
My husband, Matt.
You walked in together?
Yes.
Tell us the first person you remember meeting.
When I went in the house?
Yes.
Probably my niece was at the table, and then I saw my nephew, Brian.
Was there anybody else you saw at the table?
Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson.
So when you walk in the front door of the house, is it what table? Is this a living room table, a kitchen table?
Oh, you walk in and then you go to the right and it's into the kitchen and there's a table there.
Is the kitchen separate from the living room or is it open?
It's open, but they're separate.
Can you see the kitchen table when you walk in the door if you turn and look right?
Yes.
And when you go into the kitchen, you said there was a woman by the name of Julie Nagel
Yes.
and then another woman, Sarah?
Yes.
You know her last name?
Levinson.
Okay. Julie Nagel, did you know her when you walked in the house that night?
I had met her a few times.
Had you spent time with her? Were you friends with her?
No, I just had met her a few times, and she had watched my dog for me when my nephew couldn't.
Oh.
When you would go away, would your nephew be responsible to watch your dog?
Yes.
Did you understand that Julie Nagel had watched your dog a couple of times?
Yes.
Had you ever socialized with her before that night?
No, I may have seen her at a graduation party, but never beyond that.
Were you friends with her at that point?
No.
Friendly enough that she watched your dogs?
Yes, through my nephew. He just said my friend's going to do it, and I
see.
trusted his judgment.
And there was another woman by the name of Sarah. Did you know her before you saw her that night?
I knew of her. If I would to see her, I'd say hi, but that's the extent of it.
How did you know of her?
Just from being in the town, going to different sporting activities and just being around.
You said your nephew Brian was there as well in the kitchen?
Yes.
This was his birthday?
Yes.
How old was he?
I think he was turning 23.
Was there anybody else in the house when you were?
What? I think he was 10 and 23. I always know how old my niece and nephew are turning. That's weird. I think he was 10 and 23. You don't know, but you're having a drink for his brother. Okay.
When your husband first got there?
Yes, my sister and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins.
So Mr. Higgins, Brian Albert, and your sister were there before you?
Yes.
Where was everybody when you first came in?
My niece, Caitlin, Sarah Levinson, Julie Nagel, and Brian Jr. were all at the kitchen table. My sister was over, I think, cleaning the counters, and Brian were off in that TV room that you can see from the kitchen because there's a wide opening.
If you walk in the front door, would I look left or right to see the TV room?
You'd look right to the kitchen, and then through the kitchen's the TV room, but you could look and when you walk in, you can see because it's open.
Is the TV room in any way have a relationship with that side door?
Yes, it does.
If you were to walk in the side door, would you be walking into the TV room?
Yes.
When you saw your nephew Brian Jr. and his friends, are his friends about the same age as him?
Yes.
Were they drinking?
Yes.
Was there music?
Yes.
She doesn't know how old they are. So how do you know they're the same age? Because you don't even know how old your nephew is, ma'am. That's just weird to me. Maybe it's not weird to everyone else, but it's weird to me.
And when you went in, did you spend time with the group?
Yes, I sat right down and started talking to them.
And when you were speaking to them, did you have any drinks that night?
I believe they brought me over a White Claw, but I didn't have more than a sip of it. I really wasn't. It was at that point where I just didn't want another drink.
Interesting.
As you were in the kitchen, were you expecting anybody else?
We had mentioned it to Karen and John, and I had actually just spoken to John, so I was expecting them.
So when you saw John O'Keefe in the waterfall, that wasn't the last time you spoke to him?
No.
You had spoken to him, was it on the ride to your nieces? To your sisters?
Yes.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He texted me and I believe asked something like, where to? And since I was driving, I called him.
When you called him, what did you tell him? What did you guys say?
I just said they live 34 Fairview Road off of Chapman.
I said, we're getting drunk. We're getting crunk. Are you drinking and driving? Because I am.
Know if John O'Keefe had ever been to the Albert home before?
I don't believe he had.
In that conversation, how long did that conversation take?
It was quick.
Was there any other conversation that you had with him other than that one conversation?
Yes, he called me back and he was trying to find it.
Trying to find the address?
Try to find the house on Fairview.
Did he ask you for help trying to find the address?
I'm not sure his exact words, but yes, he needed help. And so I just said, I told him, just go down the street, go by Bella's house. It's at the bottom of the street.
So you used Bella's house as a point of designation to try to guide him to get to your sister's house?
Yes.
Tell us who Bella was to John.
Bella is my daughter and John's niece friend. So Bella is friends with my daughter and John's niece.
Okay. And was there any relationship between Bella's mother and John that you knew of?
I'm gonna buy you a drink. Oh, we're gonna sidebar. Objection. Okay, I say objection. Don't take too long. Sustained. Sustained. We're not going to take too long. There's John O'Keefe's brother. I think that's his wife, right, guys? I can never remember. So we got the O'Keefe family. We got John's mother, Peggy, who testified last week. Now we're going up to the fan. I don't like the fan. I'm not a fan of the fan. This is a long ass sidebar. I'm a buy. Smash that like if you haven't already, you guys.
When you were inside the house.
Okay.
Tell us generally when you had. May I?
Yes.
Oh, what up, you Nettie?
That second phone conversation you had with John, do you know about what time that was?
I don't, it would be after 12:15, but before 12:30, approximately, between that.
Were you still driving when you had that conversation?
Yes.
Drunk
And at
drive.
some point you told us you arrived at your sister's home and went in.
Yes.
I'd like to move forward now to when you were inside the house. Tell us generally when you first got there and saw everybody, what were you doing?
I just sat down at the table. I started talking to them. We were listening to music.
I was Googling hose long to die in the cold. Allegedly.
Typical night.
Anything stand out as far as music or interaction with the group?
No, we were just laughing, telling stories. At one point, I'm not sure if it was at some point, my other nephew had been over my house and had shown me this video on his phone, and it was a family inside joke. The video, it was a music video from a long time ago. And so I was telling my other niece and nephew, oh my gosh, you have to see this video. It's hysterical. And then we started
It's hysterical. I bet it wasn't hysterical.
playing it and watching it.
What was the video?
It's Raining Men.
Just educating the youth. It's raining, man. Hallelujah. It's raining, man. Hey, it's raining drunk drivers in Canton, allegedly.
Did that get a lot of playtime during that get together?
Well, I have one sister who sometimes has a little too much to drink, takes out an umbrella, and will dance.
I'm sorry, what? You got a drunk sister? Tell us more.
Hysterical. And then we started playing it and watching it.
What was the video?
It's Raining Men.
Did that get a lot of playtime during that get together?
Well, I have one sister who sometimes has a little too much to drink, takes out an umbrella, and will dance.
Oh,
So it's a family joke.
While you were at your sister's house, what area of the house were you spending time in?
And I was in the kitchen.
the drunk sister is just catching strays. What did she do? Kelly, yeah, I will say Jen McCabe's hair is on point. She has the Rachel going on from Friends in the 90s. Okay. What a blowout. Great blowout. Jen
What was the
McCabe.
mood of everybody in the house as far as you remember?
Everybody was in a great mood.
Was there any fighting?
No,
Any arguing?
no,
Any violence?
no.
Was it a celebratory mood?
Yes.
As you were in the house, were you waiting for anybody else that you expected to come?
Yes, I was expecting John and Karen to come.
At some point when you're in the kitchen, or let me ask you a little background. As you're in the kitchen of that house, can you see outside from the kitchen area?
They had blinds or something down, but if the blinds were up, you could see out.
Were the blinds up?
No.
At any point, were you able to see outside from inside the house?
From the front door, yes.
Does the front door, is it glass?
Yes.
At some point when you were with everybody in the
Insane,
celebration, did
Janice.
you have a chance to look outside?
Yes.
And when you looked outside, what did you see?
I saw a dark SUV out front.
Did you know whose SUV that was?
I believed it was Karen's.
Could you see who was in it?
Do you believe
No.
or do you know?
At that point of night, what does the weather look like from the front door?
It's dark and it's snowing, and I could see, brake lights.
Objection. There's so much lip licking. What is with the lip licking? Overruled. Okay. We're going to let her lick her lips. Fine. If you want to play that game, go ahead. Bev, go ahead.
Did you see if that SUV moved at all?
I didn't see the SUV actually move, but I saw it in a few different locations.
How many times did you look out?
Can't give you an exact number of how many times I looked out. I can tell you I saw the vehicle first straight out from the front door. Then I saw it up at the flagpole, and then I saw it further up from the flagpole.
Were you studying the car at all?
The flagpole near where John O'Keefe's body was found. She saw it up by the flagpole. I saw her run someone over. Okay, I saw it. I saw it myself.
No, it was quick glances. And I knew an exact number of how many times I looked out. I can tell you I saw the vehicle first straight out from the front door. Then I saw it up at the flagpole, and then I saw it further up from the flagpole.
I saw
Were you
it.
studying the car at all?
No, it was quick glances.
Did you have any reason to study it?
No,
What were you expecting was going to happen?
I was expecting John and Karen to come into the house.
Did they ever make it in the house?
No, they did not.
As you were waiting, were you doing anything else in addition to waiting for
A
them to
lot
come?
of lick living.
Yes, so I was sitting at the table. Someone made mention of a car out front, so I got up, went to the door, looked out, and then I would go back to the table, and where we were just all laughing, talking, playing music, just hanging out, not really thinking much about anything.
Did you ever reach out to John when you thought the car out front was the defendant's car with John in it? Did you ever reach out to him?
Yes, I did.
How did you reach out to him?
I texted him.
Do you know if there was a phone call that was made to you before 12:30? A 7-second phone call?
From John?
Yes.
I don't.
You mentioned you had spoken to him about directions. Is that the last time you heard his voice?
Yes,
When the car was out front, did you exchange text messages or were you simply texting him?
I was texting him.
Do you remember what you were texting him?
The first time I said here,
What do you mean by here? Was that
like
exclamation?
here.
I was texting him the lyrics to It's Raining Men. I was like, I just saw this video. You got to get in here. I saw it. I saw a lot of things, especially this video. My drunk sisters dancing with an umbrella. I'm totally sober.
Here, question mark, because that's when I saw the car.
You were wondering whether that was him?
Yes,
Did you send any other text messages or were you simply texting him?
I was texting him.
Do you remember what you were texting him?
The first time I said here,
What do you mean by here? Was that
like
exclamation point?
here, question mark, because that's when I saw the car.
You were wondering whether that was him?
Yes.
Did you send any other text messages that you can remember?
After I saw the car move locations, when I saw,
She didn't saw it. She saw it. That was weird, you guys. There was a lot of SARS, and now we have a SAW.
Whether that was him?
yes.
Did you send any other text messages that you can remember?
After I saw the car move locations,
Wait a minute. She knows how to say SAW. Then why is she saying SAR? I'm so confused.
You were wondering whether that was him?
yes.
Did you send any other text messages that you can remember?
After I saw the car move locations, when I saw it go up to the flagpole, I said, pull behind me.
And do you remember any other communications you had with him? Was he texting you anything?
No,
Did he ever text you again that night?
he never texted me again.
Never called again?
No,
Did you continue to text him over the next 15, 20 minutes?
I did, yes.
And so at some point, did you realize that John O'Keefe and the defendant weren't coming in the house?
Yes, when the car was gone.
Did you ever go outside through the storm down to the flagpole to speak to them?
No,
Why not?
why would I?
I was just asking. All right.
I had no reason to.
So
This is the Commonwealth's witness. And she's like, why would I? She's getting sassy toward the prosecution. Like, I'm just asking. I just asked the questions here. She's like, why would I? Why would I go out there? Okay, I was too busy Googling. It's Raining Men and how's long to die in the cold.
when you were in the house, at some point, did you notice that that car was gone?
Yes.
Were you marking the time or keeping track of it?
No.
After you didn't see the defendant's car anymore, did you stay?
Yes.
How long do you think you stayed for at the house?
I stayed till about around 1:30, 1:45-ish.
Did anybody else come in the house up until 1:45?
No.
Did people leave at certain times?
Yes, people did leave.
Who was the first to leave?
Brian Higgins?
Do you remember about what time he left?
I don't.
And after Mr. Higgins left, do you know who left?
I'm not sure. I believe it was us, and then my niece Caitlin was also like at the door. It was kind of in a row. Brian left, and then a little bit later, I think it was, myself, Matt, Julie, and Sarah left. But Caitlin was at the door. I believe she was waiting for her ride.
How much longer after Mr. Higgins left did you leave?
Maybe I honestly can't say. I think he was there for a while I was there. So maybe he left anywhere from 15 minutes, approximately 15, 20 minutes before I did, or maybe a little more.
You mentioned that you had left the waterfall after midnight,
Yes.
and you had phone calls with Mr. O'Keefe along the way.
Yes.
Do you know that there are phone records with your text messages and phone calls in them?
Yes.
And do you know whether your phone records reflect the time of your calls with Mr. O'Keefe
Yes.
and your text messages?
Wait a minute, because your Google searches aren't matching the times, so maybe the text messages and phone calls aren't matching the times.
Yes.
When you were texting calls with Mr. that there are phone records with your text messages and phone calls in them?
Yes.
And do you know whether your phone records reflect the time of your calls with Mr. O'Keefe
Yes.
and your text messages?
Yes.
When you were texting Mr. O'Keefe, when the Lexus or the car was in front of the house, rather, was Mr. Higgins still there?
Yes.
Yes.
What are some of the things that everybody did along that night before you left? What happened in there?
What happened inside the house?
Yeah.
Nothing. We basically just sat around the table, talked, laughed, listened to music, chit-chatted.
Celebratory?
Yes.
Was there ever any fighting,
No, none at all.
any arguing?
We were I saw them celebrating the birthday of my nephew, who I don't know how old he was turning.
None at all.
Any physical,
Chatted.
celebratory?
Yes.
Was there ever any fighting,
No, none at all.
any arguing,
None at all.
any physical interaction?
No, none.
When you decided to leave that night, did you say around 1:45-ish?
Yes.
When you left around 1:45, was there any events that happened that night that would cause you unrest or excitement or your heartbeat to raise?
No.
When you decided to leave, you and your husband, where were you going to go?
We were dropping off Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, and then we were going home.
Had you planned on dropping them off earlier in the night?
No, when we got there, Julie's brother had pulled up to pick them up, and
I
we
won't
just.
ask you what was said because you weren't there.
Oh,
but
okay.
At some point, did you come to an understanding that you would give them a ride home?
Yes.
Did you offer?
Yes.
Who was going to drive home between you and your husband?
I was
Matt drove home.
drunk-pissed, so I
When
was
you
driving.
left, I want you to describe as you step out into
How many drinks did Matt have? I want to know, how many drinks did everybody have? Okay, let me know about Matt. Is he also impervious to alcohol and doesn't feel it like you?
the driveway or the walkway. We'll drive home between you and your husband.
Matt drove home.
When you left, I want you to describe as you step out into the driveway or the walkway. Was it the front door or side door, if you remember?
I walked out the front door.
Is the weather like it was when you first got there?
No, it's picked up.
Tell us what you mean by it's picked up.
So as I walk out, you kind of go, the walkway is to the left. So I walk down the steps, I go to the left. The snow was coming, it was cold, the wind was picking up. So I kind of just like curled up and ran to my car quick to get in.
What part of the car did you get into?
What if she's like, and then I slipped on the ice like Colin Albert. I saw him do it and I landed knuckles down. And that's why my knuckles were bloody.
I front passenger,
Who was driving?
Matt.
And where were the other two people?
Sarah and Julie were in the back seat.
Who was in which spot?
I'm not exactly sure.
So both of the young women were in the back seat?
Yes.
Was there any conversation when you got into the car?
We got in the car and they were teasing me
Why were they teasing you?
because I had like bread and maybe peanut butter in my car.
Why did you have bread and peanut butter?
I'm sorry, what? Did you have bread and are you living in your car? Tell us, Jen McCabe, what's going on?
We got in the car and they were teasing me
Why were they teasing you?
because I had like bread and maybe peanut butter in my car.
Why did you have bread and peanut butter in your car?
I had my niece for the week, and I was dragging her like to all my kids' sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
And they were making fun.
I'm sorry. I want to throw her a peanut butter sandwich. How did she say? Dunkin' Donuts? I know I have a thick Minnesota accent, so no hate to Massachusetts. I love it. I love a Boston accent. I know there's lots of different accents throughout Massachusetts, but I love a good Mass accent.
I had my niece for the week, and I
No, there's more than McDonald's. You could go to Subway, eat fresh, even though Subway's disgusting. Do you got a Jersey Mike's? Do you got there's lots of things. You got Arby's, low carby.
I was dragging her like to all my kids' sporting events. So
No
we'd
jelly.
go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her.
What is Dunkin' Donuts? I just love that. Dunkin' Donuts. That is not how Ben Affleck says it in the ads.
Sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice.
Good.
So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
Duck a donut. One more time, you guys. I'm so sorry. I love it too much.
Go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts,
Oh my God, when it's slowed down, it's even better. It's better. Instead of giving a McDonald's, a Dunkin' Donuts.
or like to all my kids' sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
Oh, Jen McCabe, that was too good. I threw a peanut butter sandwich at her. A Dunkin' Donuts.
And they were making fun of you?
Yeah.
As the car backs out of the driveway, tell us what you're doing.
I can't help it.
I'm talking to the girls.
You just moved your head.
Yes.
Does that mean anything?
Yes.
Tell us.
So I kind of
Throwing a peanut butter sandwich at him, like, shut up back there. Want to go Dunkin' Donuts.
they were both sitting behind me. So I was like turning and, chatting and talking.
After your husband pulls out of the driveway, do you start to drive home?
Yes.
If the house is on my right and you're driving, are you in the passenger seat closest to the house or furthest away?
Passenger seat closest.
So you're driving, if you look at a picture of the house, you would be driving from right to left?
Yes.
So as you start to drive or your husband starts to drive the car, what direction are you looking in, if you remember?
The back seat.
Did you drive by the front of the house, do you know?
We pulled out of the driveway and went up Chapman.
Okay. And your husband and you passed by the front of the house?
Yes.
Did you pass by the flagpole?
Yes.
Were you looking at the flagpole?
No.
And how dark was it at that point?
It was dark.
Pretty dark.
Snow?
Yes.
As you're passing the flagpole, do you hear or see anything remarkable?
No, I'm not really paying attention. I'm just chatting to the girls and Matt's just focusing on driving.
When you're talking to the girls and they're making fun of you, what's the mood in the car?
We're all laughing and joking.
Where
Drunk.
do you go next?
We drive Julie Nagel home.
Into a snowdrift. We drove into we just crashed into a couple cars because Matt was drunk. I was drunk. We had peanut butter sandwiches. We went to Dunkin' Donuts. We were so drunk. We didn't realize they were closed. But, and we're just, here, let me pull this up here. You guys, we got a lip licking. I think this makes me like dyslexic when I talk about this. Lip licking moment. Dunkin' Donuts. We were driving around. We were drunk. We crashed into a snowbank. Yeah, I saw it. Matt didn't see it. I wasn't drunk. I'm impervious to booze, but Matt clearly isn't. He was drunk driving, and my sister came, the drunk one, and she had an umbrella, and she was dancing over the car, and then we couldn't see, so it's her fault. It's the drunk one. She was like, it's raining, man, and I saw her, and I said, Matt, look it's my drunk sister.
After you drop off in Snaggle, where do you go?
We drop off Sarah Levinson.
Is the weather constant?
Yes.
After you drop off the young woman in separate spots, where do you go?
We went home.
Can you tell us when you get home what happens next?
We go in the house. I go up to bed. Matt makes himself a snack and then joins me upstairs.
Do you have a telephone?
Yes.
An iPhone?
Yes.
Do you have a telephone?
When you go to bed, do you stay up at all?
Yes.
Do you use your iPhone?
Yes, I do.
What were you doing?
I texted a few people and then I did a couple of Google searches.
And what were the searches for?
One,
We're getting into the Google search. Go to bed, woman. You're drunk. You've been up all night, Dunkin' Donuts. You've been doing peanut butter sandwiches in your car. Okay, so she's not done texting. Like, go to bed with your husband. Have some sloppy, drunken intercourses. But no, she's like, I was doing some Google searches. And we know the Google searches. How's long to die in the snow?
I texted a few people and then I did a couple of Google searches.
And what were the searches for?
One, my daughter had played in a basketball game earlier in the night and it was a very good game. So I went and I read the report on it. And then my other daughter had an offer to play on a basketball team. So we had to make a decision about whether or not we were going to accept the spot. So I was just looking up that basketball club.
Other than those regular searches that one would do, was there anything remarkable about what you were searching at 2:27? That's
long to die in the cold.
No.
After you were looking at websites for your child's sports, what did you do?
I put my phone down and went to sleep.
And up to that point, had there been any discord or fighting or arguments in your world?
No.
Peaceful night?
Yes.
Did you go to sleep, Miss McCabe?
Yes.
Did you sleep through the night?
I typically get up to go to the bathroom, so that I could have gotten up possibly to go to the bathroom.
Did anything remarkable happen in the early morning hours of January 29, 2022 that changed that peaceful mood into something else?
Yes.
I want you to share with the jury the first thing that happens that changes everything.
At 4:53, my phone rings and I look at my caller ID. I look at the phone and it's Kaylee,
And
John's
who's Kaylee?
niece. John's niece. And I say hello, and she said, "Yeah." Well, basically, she relayed to me that
Next question.
When you pick up the phone,
Action.
did you hear a
You're
voice on the other
saying-
end?
I heard a voice and a lot of screaming.
And the voice you heard, is that Kaylee, John's niece?
Yes,
And the screaming, was it a man or a woman screaming?
it was a woman,
How loud was that person screaming?
very loud.
Could you make out anything that person was saying as they were screaming?
My name was screamed a lot, and then the other individual ended up getting on the phone with me,
Okay. And who was that person that was screaming in the background?
Miss Reed.
How long was she screaming for while you were speaking to your niece before you spoke to her?
The entire time I was speaking to Kaylee, she was screaming.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's.
Yes.
Jen. And then she's
Okay, they always make Karen sound horrible. Jen.
was screaming.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's.
Yes.
It's a slow-mo moment. You guys smash that like if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get 142 likes for 142 people watching.
Jen.
Oh, jeez.
And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying.
She screams like Kim Zolciak Bierman sings, like a dying cat or a cat vomiting.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's.
Yes.
Slow-mo time.
Jen.
I gotta screen grab that.
And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying.
Left him at the waterfall.
How long did that first call last for?
I'm not sure how long, maybe possibly a few minutes, but it was loud enough and long enough that my husband shot up in bed thinking one of my kids had come in the room screaming.
So Karen Read's scream is so loud that drunk driver husband was like, "What's going on? What's going on?"
Without saying what your niece said, could you describe your niece's demeanor?
I don't know
when
if
you first
she
spoke to her. I mean, John's niece
said that before. Did she say previously that her husband could hear it, and that Karen left him at the waterfall?
I would say Kaylee sounded concerned, uneasy.
During that phone call, other than the screaming and the screaming of your name, did the defendant give you any information other than she had dropped John off at the waterfall?
They had gotten into a fight. She had left him there and he didn't come home.
And when you were woken up, were you in a sleep when you were woken up?
Good point. She says she saw Karen Read's car outside, but she's saying Karen Read said, "I dropped him off at the waterfall." Jen!
Yes, I was sound asleep.
What was your mental state like when you first woke up and got that call?
She was sleep.
Well, I had been up late. I had taken my medication that I take for my MS, so I was definitely a bit groggy when I first woke up. So immediately I just wanted to help her. She was hysterical. Kaylee was upset. So I went into that kind of mom mode of what can I do? How can I help? So I immediately was like thinking, okay, well, if you left him at the waterfall, let me think who was still there, or, how can I help you? How can we find John?
Did you have a plan when you ended that first call?
I did. I knew Chris Albert had still been at the waterfall when I left. So I thought if Karen and John had gotten into a fight, maybe Chris had walked out of the bar, and Chris lived local to the bar, thought maybe they walked back to Chris's together.
So what did you do?
So I called Chris Albert's wife, Julie.
Did you speak to her?
No, she never answered.
After you had a moment
Sure.
to make a phone call and think about things, did your head become any more clearer?
It did. And I was, reminded by my husband that we had seen Karen in John's car outside of Fairview.
When he reminded you, did you independently remember the text messages that you sent to John earlier that evening?
Immediately, I was like, oh my God, you're right.
Did you remember that you had seen what you believed?
It's almost as if you didn't remember because you were drunk. But I know you're impervious to alcohol, so I don't want to put that on you, Jen McCabe.
To be the defendant's car in front of the house and near the flagpole?
Jen!
Okay. What did you
Oh my God, you're right.
Did you remember that you had seen what you believed to be the defendant's car in front of the house and near the flagpole?
Watch the form.
Okay. What did you remember? What came to mind after you spoke to your husband about your memory from earlier that evening?
The minute he said it, I remember seeing the SUV and then all the text messages that I had and the phone conversation with John.
So after the defendant spoke to you and said she had left the defendant at the waterfall and you had time to think about your memories, did you react or do anything with that?
Yes, I believe I called Kaylee back.
Why did you call Kaylee?
I didn't have Miss Reed's phone number.
When you called Kaylee back, did you speak to anybody?
Yes, I believe Kaylee and then Miss Reed.
When you first spoke to Kaylee, could you hear anything other than Kaylee?
The screaming.
Was it any different or was it similar to the first time you spoke by phone?
Similar to the first time.
Regarding the demeanor or intensity, had it changed at all?
Not at all.
You mentioned the first time that you had that phone call, the defendant was screaming your name. Jen,
Yes.
Jen. Was she saying your name in the second call or was it just general screaming?
My name. And then when she got on the phone, I had told her, Karen, I saw you guys outside of my sister's house. And then she told me she didn't remember being there. And then she went on to say, she started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I don't. And then she just was.
Now we're getting the eyes going up in the air like, did I hit him? I could have hit him. I did hit him. I hit something. This is where it looks a little.
On the phone, I had told her, Karen, I saw you guys outside of my sister's house. And then she told me she didn't remember being there. And then she went on to say, she started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I don't. And then she just was just all over the place, like screaming my name, screaming so many different things. She was hard to follow or understand.
When she was saying to you, did I hit him? Could have I hit him? Was that before or after you informed her that you had seen her out front of your sister's house?
It was after I told her that. She also informed me that she had cracked her taillight.
In that conversation, she told you that?
In one of the conversations I had with her in my bedroom, yes.
When
It is interesting. As she's telling these details, she's like squinting her eyes, like she said she cracked her tail light. And yeah, one of the conversations.
Me that she had cracked her taillight.
in that conversation, she told you that?
In one of the conversations I had with her in my bedroom, yes.
When you told her that you had seen her out front, she had said that she didn't remember that night. Was that before or after she was saying, did I hit him? Could have I hit him?
Can you repeat the question?
So
Sorry.
she was telling you about that she didn't remember that night. Was that before or after you had told her about seeing her car?
When I said I saw her at Fairview, then her response was she didn't even remember going there.
Did she ever deny that she came to
sweet.
Mr. O'Keefe's house? I mean, to your sister's house?
No.
When she told you or said to you, did I hit him or could have I hit him or something like that, did you have any idea what she was talking about?
No, I didn't pay attention to it.
When she told you that she had cracked her taillight the night before, did that have any significance at that time to you?
No.
So in telling you these different things, did you ever piece them together at that time?
No.
What was your primary motivation at that point?
I just wanted to help her because she was hysterical. Kaylee was very upset, so I wanted to help her, and I wanted to find John.
So after she told you these things about whether she could or did hit her and the light and not remembering, did the conversation end or did it progress?
At some point, I was then going into like, okay, well, if she brought him there and left him there, where was he? Because he never came in the house and she doesn't know where he is. So now where could he be? So I started thinking there was another gentleman that was supposed to meet us out at the bar who John was friends with. So I thought, okay, well, in my head, I'm thinking maybe they got into a fight. John got out of the car and he connected with this guy because he was at a party on the street.
What was that
Over.
person's name?
His name is Tom Beatty.
Did you?
Oh, let's hear that again. Tom Beatty.
Another gentleman that was supposed to meet us out at the bar who John was friends with. So I
Is this the guy that Brian Higgins says he saw in the Alberts house? Wasn't there a guy that he didn't know the name, but he said he saw a guy? And everyone's like, who's the guy?
thought, okay, well, in my head, I'm thinking maybe they got into a fight. John got out of the car and he connected with this guy because he was at a party on the street.
What was that
Over.
person's name?
His name is Tom Beatty.
Did you call him?
Yes.
Did you get a chance to speak to him that night?
That morning?
Yes.
No.
Did you call around anywhere else?
I believe I called my sister. I called John. I called Tom Beatty. I called his daughter.
You called John O'Keefe's phone?
Yes.
Did he answer?
No.
Did it go right to voicemail?
I don't remember.
Did you text anybody?
I honestly don't remember if I texted. I primarily think I was just trying to call as many people as I could and try to figure out what happened.
So you had two conversations at this point with the defendant while you were still home.
Yes.
Was there any further phone calls that you had before you did something?
I'm not sure if I know I went downstairs to make coffee because my plan was to go with my husband. I said, come on, let's just go over to Tom Beatty's. Let's see. Maybe John's there. He passed it on the couch. I'm not sure if Karen called me again or not. It's a little foggy because there was so many calls and everything.
So interesting that there's certain things she's like, yes, that happened. And other things she's like, I don't remember. I didn't saw it. Dunkin' Donuts. Jen!
And so that morning when you're receiving calls, did something happen?
Karen showed up at my house.
How did you know Karen showed up at your house?
I could hear her screaming out front.
And about what time is this?
Approximately 5:20, 5:30. I can't be
Were
sure.
you worried for John at this point?
Not particularly. No.
Were you screaming?
No.
Now, at this point, this moment when you hear her outside of your house yelling early morning hours, did you know a person by the name of Kerry Roberts?
I knew of her. I'd met her once.
Were you friends with her at that time?
No.
Had you socialized with her at that time?
No.
Had you ever seen her before with John?
Once.
Tell me about that.
Years earlier, as I said earlier, I used to take Kaylee on Friday nights, and Kerry was the one who would take Patrick on Friday night. So we would each have the kids. And to thank us, one day John told us how he got a discount at Reebok and to get our kids' shoe sizes, and he was going to buy us all sneakers, just as a way to say,
Sorry, what? At where? Reebok. They got a discount at Reebok. Reebok. I love Reeboks.
So one day John told us how he got a discount at Reebok
At Reebok.
and to get our kids' shoe sizes, and he was going to buy us all sneakers,
Nice.
just as a way to say thank you for helping. So we all went to the store together, and then John took Kerry and myself to the hillside for lunch.
How many years before this moment was that?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think that's when my daughter was in kindergarten or first grade, and at this point she was in 8th grade. So like 7 years.
Had you ever spent any other time with Kerry Roberts before this morning?
No.
Were you friends at that point?
No.
How would you consider your relationship with Miss Roberts on that morning when Miss Read arrived to your home?
I had met her once, and that was the extent of it. I wouldn't say I knew her at all beyond that one time I went out with her.
I want you to take us back now to when you first hear the defendant in your driveway yelling. When you hear that, do you hear any words or is it general yelling?
So I hear yelling. So I was downstairs making coffee. I go to my front door and I open it, and she's screaming, Jen, Jen. She's screaming that 3 times.
Or 3 times, because Karen Read, like Mac was saying, like I was saying, like other people are saying in the chat, Karen Read only says things in 3s, according to these people.
And then she was,
Okay, let's get this. We need a slow-mo moment. Hit that like while we get the slow-mo moment of Jen again. Every Jen needs a slow-mo moment.
When you hear that, do you hear any words or is it general yelling?
so I hear yelling. So I was downstairs making coffee. I go to my front door and I open it, and she's screaming, Jen, Jen. She's
Jen. This was a little more of a whisper. little more of a whisper. She's screaming all the time, 3 times. Jen, 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 Dunkin' Donuts, do you have that peanut butter in your car?
Screaming that 3 times, and then she was
3 times. 3 times, 1 time, 2 times. She's like the Fugees.
saying we have to go to Fairview. A lot of the could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Just she was on repeat.
What did you do?
My husband came running down the hall and was like, "Tell her to shut up. She's going to wake up the neighbors." And then I said, "I'm just going to go with her. I'm going to go look for John." And then he yelled down saying something like, "You can't be driving around in this weather." With a
I love that they're worried about the weather, but not the drunk driving. It's not that you still have a blood alcohol level that's 3 times the legal limit, allegedly, even though you're impervious to alcohol. We already did our drunk driving for today, honey. Okay? It's too early to be drunk driving. This is a new day, actually. It's a brand new day and no drunk driving. Okay? We saved that for the nighttime, baby.
broken taillight.
When you
My husband came running down the hall and was like, "Tell her to shut up. She's going to wake up the neighbors." And then I said, "I'm just going to go with."
They're so mean to Karen. They're like, I know she's missing her boyfriend who she allegedly loves, but tell her to shut up. The amount of times these people tell Karen Read to shut up when she legitimately, it seems like she's like, "Where is John O'Keefe?" She's worried about him. They're like, "Shut up, would ya? Get in the car. We got peanut butter and bread in there. I'll throw some at you in the back seat."
With her, I'm going to go look for John. And then he yelled down saying something like, "You can't be driving around in this weather, with a broken taillight."
when you saw the defendant at your front door, had the weather changed overnight?
Yes.
Was it different?
Yes. Now the snow had intensified. It was almost like it was dark outside, but it was like whiteout conditions.
How dark?
What do you want to give a shade? How dark? How dark we talk? With dark, 3 times dark? Dark? Was it like, Jen? It was so dark you couldn't hear her screaming, Jen. Thank you, Liz, for the first super chat of the live. Only Jolene could do a Boston roast. Thank you. I love Boston. I love Massachusetts. I love going to Boston. I love my Boston friends. I love a Boston accent. I love everything about it.
Yeah. I mean, it was dark. It was like 5:30 in the morning.
What was the visibility like?
Not good.
After you meet the defendant at your door, do you let her in or does she stay outside?
I'm not sure if I just grabbed my coffee and ran out
Where did you
or
go?
whether she came in. So we went down my walkway. She was just kind of running all around. The driver's door was open. So I told her I was going to drive because I thought she was too hysterical to drive. In the meantime, all of a sudden there was a car.
I'm sorry, I keep stopping. But so it can be too snowy to drive. You can be too hysterical to drive, but you can never be too drunk to drive in Canton.
At the end of my street, and there was a plow. We went down my walkway. She was just kind of running all around. The car.
So this is how I imagine, you guys, this is how I imagine they are trying to make us believe that Karen Read, okay? This is my dramatic interpretation of Karen Read running around, all right? Jen! I might have hit him. Jen! That is what I'm getting from this description, you guys, okay? That's what I think Jen McCabe wants us to believe, that was Karen Read. And they were like, shut up. It's not like what, Dunkin' Donuts. Shut up.
The driver's door was open. So I told her I was going to drive because I thought she was too hysterical to drive. In the meantime, all of a sudden there was a car at the end of my street and there was a plow behind it.
The car that came to the end of your street, do you know where it went?
I meant the end of my driveway. I'm sorry.
When you say at the end of your driveway, did it pull into your driveway?
No, it just kind of stopped right at the base of my driveway.
Okay. How far behind your car was that car?
Okay, sorry. I have to.
Not far, because not too far.
Okay. Did you know who was in that car?
No.
Did you learn who was in that car?
Yes,
How did you learn who was in the car?
because I said, "Who is that?" And
Did you ask the defendant or did you walk
I
up?
asked the defendant, and she told me it was Carrie Roberts.
Did you meet Carrie Roberts face to face in your driveway that morning?
Yes, I wouldn't say we met. It was more of a the plow was coming, so then she was having to like move down the street, and then either Karen called her or she called Karen, but they were on the phone, Karen's phone over the car, so they started talking.
Did you get into the defendant's car?
Yes, we did. I got in the car with Miss Read.
When you got in the car, you were in the driver's seat. Was Miss Read in the passenger front?
Yes,
You said there was an open call. Is this something you could hear on a speaker?
yes.
At that point, had you had a chance to go and look at the taillight of that car?
No,
Did you have any interest in the taillight at that point?
no.
There was an open call between who?
Karen and Kerry Roberts.
Can you describe what you heard in that call?
Karen was saying that she wanted to go to Fairview, and Kerry Roberts was instructing her that no, we weren't going to be going to Fairview. And she kept saying, we got to go to your sister's house. And Kerry Roberts said, no, we're not going to be driving around in this weather in 2 cars. Let's go back to John's. Let's go to Meadow.
Sorry, you guys. They're like, no, we're not going to be driving around this car, Karen. Okay, we're not drunk enough. Okay, do you not know about driving in Canton? We haven't even had, we've had like 3 hours of sleep. Our buzz is gone. We're not driving. We're not drunk enough. Shut up, Karen. Is your boyfriend missing? Big deal.
Go to Fairview.
Yes.
And Kerry Roberts was instructing her that no, we weren't going to be going to Fairview. And she kept saying, we got to go to your sister's house. And Kerry Roberts said, no, we're not going to be driving around in this weather in 2 cars. Let's go back to John's. Let's go to Meadows. Let's go see if he's there. That was kind of the conversation. And then Karen was doing a lot of screaming, and Kerry was kind of yelling back at her to shut up.
Who was taking charge of the situation that morning?
You guys are ridiculously mean to her. Shut up. And when Kerry Roberts, when she testified, she's like, and they told her to shut up. She was so annoying. Okay. She was in the back of the car. She's in between us. She's touching us. I'm like, get off me. I could feel a hot breath. I didn't like it. I wasn't drunk enough for this.
Aren't going to be going to Fairview. And she kept saying, we got to go to your sister's house. And Kerry Roberts said, no, we're not going to be driving around in this weather in 2 cars. Let's go back to John's. Let's go to Meadows. Let's go see if he's there. That was kind of the conversation. And then Karen was doing a lot of screaming, and Kerry was kind of yelling back at her to shut up.
Who was taking charge of the situation that morning?
Kerry Roberts.
Were you in charge of it?
No.
Did you weigh in or make any decisions on where you were going to go next, or were you just a listener?
I just listened. Kerry said that Kerry's kind of a take charge person. She said, we're going to Meadows.
Whoa. I thought you were the take charge person. Now Kerry's the take charge person. She's like, it's not me. I'm not the boss. Okay. It's Kerry.
I said, okay. I drove to Meadows.
Now, at this point, you didn't know Kerry Roberts other
No.
than that meeting?
Yes, correct.
And you agreed to follow her?
Yes.
So tell us what happens. Take us through the drive.
She might have followed me. I'm not sure, but we drove back to Meadows, pulled into the driveway.
So you knew where Meadows was? You had been there many times for the kids?
Yes.
You think Miss Roberts may have followed you?
Yes.
What was the weather conditions as you were driving?
They were awful. It was, I was driving very slow, cautiously. It was dark.
They were awful because we were somewhat sober. And I was like, this sucks. Get in the car. Let's go. We got to get to a bar and get a buzz on if we're going to drive in this kind of weather. You're too hysterical.
Roberts may have followed you?
Yes.
What was the weather conditions as you were driving?
They were awful. It was, I was driving very slow, cautiously. It was dark. It was hard to see. It was that type where the snow is like coming at your window.
How long of a ride was it from your home to John's home?
Approximately 5-6 minutes.
Was there any other phone calls while you were in the car with Miss Roberts, or did the phone calls end?
I believe that was it.
Can you describe the defendant's demeanor on the trip from your house to John's house?
She was just screaming, yelling things. It was almost like everything she said 3 times.
Damn. Beetlejuice. She's always screaming. She never even talks. I've never heard this lady talk in my life. She just screams, bloody murder. I was like, this ain't Dunkin' Donuts.
And she just went from one thing to the next. She was quite hysterical.
I saw
Do you
her.
remember what she was yelling about?
Thing.
Can you describe the defendant's demeanor on the trip from your house to John's house?
She was just screaming, yelling things. It was almost like everything she said 3 times. And she just went from one thing to the next. She was quite hysterical.
Do you remember what she was yelling about?
About going to Fairview, asking, could she have hit him? Did I hit him?
How many times did she raise the question, did I hit him? Could have I hit him?
A good amount.
3
Did you ever
times.
speak to her about that?
No.
At some point, did you finally get to John's home?
Yes,
When you got to John's home, who pulled in the driveway first?
I did.
Where did you pull in respect to the driveway?
I just pulled straight in next to the garage.
Did you see where Miss Roberts went?
I believe she pulled in behind me.
After you pulled into Meadows, John's home, and you stopped, what happened next?
We go into John's house.
She was screaming.
When you went to John's house, did you all go in the same way?
Yes, we went through the garage.
The
And
garage.
before going into John's home, did you do anything?
Before entering into the house,
Yes.
Her to shut
I
up.
took off my shoes.
You took off your shoes?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Oh, we're getting to the shoes. Everyone has to take off their shoes at John O'Keefe's house. Karen did not take off her shoes, which obviously means she killed John O'Keefe. There's the proof, because she would have to take off her shoes. I'm sorry, if it's my boyfriend's house, he tells me to take off my shoes. I want to take off my shoes. I'm going to take off my shoes. If my boyfriend's missing, I'm probably not going to worry about taking off my shoes. I'm just going to run in and go, jail. Hi, my husband, jail. Hi, my husband, jail. RN, jail. Jail. But here we go about the shoes. What happened when we got to John's house? Well, we told Karen to shut up. Okay, we looked for some liquor because I'm impervious to it. And then I Googled house long to die in the cold and when do the bars open?
John's house.
When you went to John's house, did you all go in the same way?
Yes, we went through the garage.
And before going into John's home, did you do anything?
Before entering into the house,
Yes.
I took off my shoes.
You took off your shoes?
Yes,
Why did you do that?
because you always had to take your shoes off at John's. He didn't want you to track. He would have yelled at me for tracking snow in his house.
Did you see if Carrie took her shoes off or not?
I believe she did.
Did you see whether the defendant took her shoes off or not?
She just walked right in
Oh,
How would you remember that?
because I thought it was strange.
What was your purpose when you went into the house? What was the number one thing that you were worried about?
We were looking for John.
Anything else on your mind when you went into his house?
Also, I knew Kaylee was there.
Kaylee was
Now,
there.
at this point, did you have a close relationship with Kaylee?
Yes,
Do you still?
yes.
What did you do when you went in the house? Where did you go?
I walked through the kitchen and then I kind of peeked into the TV room. I walked through the dining room. And then before I went up the stairs, I kind of peeked into a living room. I went up to the top of the stairs. I peeked into John's room. And then I went into Kaylee's room.
Did you ever see John?
No,
Why did you go to Kaylee's room?
because I wanted to go check on Kaylee.
Did you have a chance to speak to her?
I did, yes.
What was her demeanor at that point?
She was very, she was in the bed. She was holding on to her phone. She was terrified.
Was she screaming?
No,
Did you provide her any comfort?
yes. I told her that I was going to go out.
Objection.
I told Kaylee that I was going to
I'll allow it.
go out with them and I was going to find John. And I promised her that everything would be okay.
At some point, you left Kaylee?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I went back downstairs and then we went out to look for John.
Before you left John's house that morning, did the defendant show you anything?
Yes. When we were out in the driveway, I had thought it was when we went in, but I think it might have been when we came out. But regardless, at one point when we were in the driveway at Meadows, Karen showed myself and Kerry Roberts the cracked taillight.
Did you or Miss Roberts get close to the taillight at that point?
Yes, we walked over and the taillight was missing pieces.
Did Miss Roberts have any comment about it?
Yes, Miss Roberts.
So she got a comment. Next question.
What was Miss Roberts?
Hearsay. Objection, Your Honor. And she's like, I'll allow it. What did they say? What did they say?
Demeanor at that
What did
point?
she say? What did she
She was frustrated with.
So she got a comment. Next question.
What was Miss Roberts?
So
Ms. Roberts have any
on to
comment
Bev
about it?
said she made a comment. Next question. Move it on, Brennan.
Yes, Miss Roberts.
So she got a comment. Next question.
What was Miss Roberts' demeanor at that point?
She was frustrated with Karen. Had said that had said that Karen basically was telling her to shut up. You were so drunk. You could have hit anything last night. And then Kerry, I remember just thinking, all right, let's go. And I remember Kerry thinking, oh,
Well,
someone's
let me
going
not
to
ask
get.
you what Kerry-
Oh, sorry.
We don't want to think what somebody thought.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, why Alan Jackson was objecting. And Bev's like, I'll allow it. Does it help the prosecution? Objection. Does it help the prosecution? I'll allow it. Go ahead. Ask it in a different way, but it's okay.
Okay.
I want to know what you heard and what you saw.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh,
A comment. Next question.
driveway at Meadows, Karen showed myself and Kerry Roberts the cracked taillight.
Did you or Miss Roberts get close to the taillight at that point?
Yes, we walked over, and the taillight was missing pieces.
Did Ms. Roberts have any comment about it?
Yes, Miss Rob.
So she had a comment. Next question.
What was Ms. Roberts' demeanor at that point?
She was frustrated with Karen. Had said that,
Thanks, Joel, for that info.
had said that Karen basically was telling her to shut up. You were so drunk. You could have hit anything last night. And then Carrie, I remember just thinking, all right, let's go. And I remember Carrie thinking,
Karen was telling Carrie to shut up. I thought Carrie was telling Karen to shut up. And Jewel says, by the way, the last name Lolly, like 4 people with that name, or I know 4 people with that name and no relation. It's kind of a common name. Okay. Jesse and the prosecution probably aren't really interesting. I've never heard that last name before, but I know we have some, in Minnesota, there's certain last names. Like if you meet an Anderson, an EN or an ON, they're probably not related. There's like a zillion of them.
Karen had said that, had said that Karen basically was telling her to shut up. You were so drunk. You could have hit anything last night. And then Carrie, I remember just thinking, all right, let's go. And I remember Carrie thinking, oh,
Well,
someone's
let me
going to
not ask
get,
you what Carrie,
sorry.
we don't want to think what somebody thought.
Okay.
I want to know what you heard and what you saw.
You could have hit anything last night.
Yeah.
You could have hit me. You could have hit my
At some
peanut
point
butter and my
when you were
bread.
looking at the taillight with missing pieces with the defendant and Ms. Roberts, did you see Ms. Roberts point anything out?
Yes.
Share that with us.
She pointed a piece that was sticking out and was concerned that someone was going to catch their coat or something on it.
And during that time when the defendant is showing you the taillight with missing pieces, was she saying anything about it?
No, I don't. Not that I can.
That was a pregnant pause.
Out and was concerned that someone was going to catch their coat or something on it.
That's an interesting concern when your friend is missing. We got to take care of the tail light. It's sticking out. We're going to catch our coats on it. Okay. But not all of us wear coats in the wintertime.
And during that time when the defendant is showing you the taillight with missing pieces, was she saying anything about it?
No, I don't. Not that I can recall right now.
You mentioned at some point she was saying, did I or could I have hit him after you left John's house? Was that in the car or before you got in the car?
I know for a fact it was definitely in the car. Was one of the times.
She knows for a fact. She doesn't know what birthday her nephew was celebrating and they were celebrating, but she knows for a fact certain things like this. Smash that like if you haven't already.
I don't. Not that I can recall right now.
You mentioned at some point she was saying, did I or could I have hit him after you left John's house? Was that in the car or before you got in the car?
I know for a fact it was definitely in the car. Was one of the times, yes.
Now, Ms. Roberts' car is parked behind the defendant's car in John's driveway.
Yes.
Was there a decision made to take 1 or 2 cars?
1 car.
What was the plan?
The plan was to get into Carrie's car and to go and look for John. I wanted to go thinking, let's go to Tom Beatty's, but Ms. Read was pretty adamant that we go to Fairview first.
She sure loves talking about Tom Beatty.
For John, I wanted to go thinking, let's go to Tom Beatty's, but Ms. Read was pretty adamant that we go to Fairview first.
You said that at times there was some arguing or bickering, or Ms. Roberts was raising her voice to the defendant?
Yes.
Who made the decision to go to Fairview?
Ultimately, Carrie said, all right, we'll go there, almost like to shut her up.
When you got in the car, where was everybody? When you got into Carrie Roberts' car, where was everybody sitting?
Carrie was driving. I was in the front and passenger. Karen was in the back, in the middle, kind of peeking her head through. Between,
I think like Karen was bucking up. Like she was so close to us, it was gross. She was in the back. She was like going like this. She was like, John's dead, John's dead, John's dead. I think I killed him. I think I killed him. I hit him with my car, hit him with my car, hit him with my car. She was just saying everything in threes. We were like, shut up, Karen. But they act like she was just so annoying. And she's in front, like looking through the back seat.
Yes.
I want you to take us through the ride.
Was in the back. Carrie was driving. I was in the front and passenger. Karen was in the back, in the middle, kind of peeking her head through between us.
I want you to take us through the ride from John's house at Meadows until you first get to Fairview. So as you pull out of, or Carrie Roberts pulls out of John's driveway, what is the mood inside that car?
I'd say it was starting to get tense because Karen was just continuously screaming. Carrie was trying to focus on driving, and Karen's behavior in the back of the car was a bit erratic.
When you say erratic, can you just give some detail what you mean by that?
Yes, she would go from sitting back to leaning up in between us, and she would yell Carrie's name 3 times. Then she would yell my name's three times.
I want her to reenact it. Carrie, Carrie, Carrie. So Karen Read is erratic. She's hysterical. She's crazy, but they're very calm. These two women are so calm.
And then she would yell behavior in the back of the car was a bit erratic.
When you say erratic, can you just give some detail what you mean by that?
Yes, she would go from sitting back to leaning up in between us, and she would yell Carrie's name 3 times. Then she would yell my name's three times. And then she would yell, could I hit him? Did I hit him? Over and over.
Wait, did she yell, could I have hit him, or could I hit him? Like she still wanted to hit him. Which one is it? Because if she was like, could I hit him? Well, I mean, that would indicate that she hasn't yet hit him and she wants to see if she could in the future hit him. But could I have hit him means, did I hit him in the past? I don't know.
3 times. Then she would yell my name's three times. And then she would yell, could I hit him? Did I hit him? Over and over again.
When she was repeating these questions or phrases that she was yelling, did you respond in any way?
I don't believe I did, no.
How about Carrie?
Carrie was telling her to shut up and to buckle up.
Was she buckled?
I don't believe so.
Carrie's like, I draw the line at not being buckled. It's one thing to drink and drive. It's whatever. You know, it's a big deal. It's a snowstorm. So what? Who cares? But if you don't buckle up, it's the law.
You began your drive from Mr. O'Keefe's home at Meadows to Fairview. Is the weather getting better?
No, it's getting worse.
Is the visibility still difficult?
It was terrible.
As you began that drive to Fairview, was there anything that you were doing on the way?
Yes, I was just kind of looking out the window intently to see if I saw anything.
Sorry.
What were you looking for?
I guess John, which I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't know where the hell he was.
Why would that sound crazy? You're in a car going to look for John. He could be anywhere because you say you don't know where he is. Karen says she doesn't know where he is. Carrie says she doesn't know where he is. So looking out the window going, could John be out there? Could he be walking? Why does that sound crazy? Could it sound crazy because you already knew where he was? I don't know. I'm just asking questions here.
Was it,
If I saw it.
to Fairview, was there anything that you were doing on the way?
Yes, I was just kind of looking out the window intently to see if I saw anything.
What were you looking for?
I guess John, which I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't know where the hell he was.
Did you have any difficulty seeing from the car the side of the road?
Yes.
Did you see what direction Ms. Roberts was looking when she was driving?
Well, she, it was hard because she needed to focus on driving because the conditions were that bad.
Did you have a chance to see the defendant on that drive at all?
Yes.
Was she looking out the windows with you?
No, she was popping back and forth and screaming.
Was it constant screaming or did it change at all?
She would scream and then kind of sit back and she'd almost be like quiet for a minute. It was like, okay, good. And then she'd start again.
In those quiet times, do you know what, if anything, she was doing?
Oh, we got our first.
I didn't know what she was doing that morning.
That's the first what if anything I've heard. What if anything? She was popping back and forth, just like, Jen, Carrie, Jen. Could she have been looking out the the dashboard? Like, could she be looking out the window of the car, like the front of the car? Back and forth, back and forth. No, she wasn't even looking for him. No, because she knew where he was, because she hit him with a car.
No. Okay, good. And then
Okay, good.
Was it constant screaming, or did it change at all?
she would scream and then kind of sit back, and she'd almost be like quiet for a minute. It was like, okay, good. And then she'd start again.
In those quiet times, do you know what, if anything, she was doing?
What if
I didn't know what she was doing that morning. No.
How long did it take to get to Fairview?
I don't know. I'm going to assume maybe 10 minutes, like with the weather.
the hysterical
Maybe
woman?
10 minutes. I'm not, give or take approximately.
As you're approaching 34 Fairview Road, before you get there, is Fairview going to be on your left side, driver's side, or on the right side?
As we're pulling up, it's on the driver's side. Carrie's going to take a left down Fairview off of Chapman.
I want you to take us back to that morning, about 20 or 30 yards before you get to Fairview.
Mhm.
You're in the car with Miss Roberts and the defendant?
Yes.
What's happening in the car?
Karen's is screaming. And at that point, she had asked if
You would think Karen got the laryngitis by now. She would have got the laryngitis. She's screaming a lot, according to them. How does someone scream that much? That's gotta hurt the throat. She's gonna need a throat coat after this.
John could be cheating on her.
Oh, John could be cheating. Now we're going into the John could be cheating.
What's happening in the car?
At that
Karen's
level,
is screaming. And at that point, she had asked if John could be cheating on her and if John could be with Bella's mom.
Bella's mom.
I just didn't know what the hell she was talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? Why would he be with Bella's mom? And then Carrie said, well, do you think he could have walked to
Bella's mom has got it going on. She's all I want, and I've waited for so long. Bella, can't you see? Your mom's the one for me. I know it might be wrong, but John might be in love with Bella's mom. Bella's mom. Bella's mom has got it. Yes, Buffy. Yes, girl. Same. We're on the same wave. And then she was like, could John be cheating? Then she was like, maybe he's having intercourse with Bella's mom. You know, she's kind of a whore.
Point, she had asked if John could be cheating on her and if John could be with Bella's mom.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? Why would he be with Bella's mom? And then Carrie said, well, do you think he could have walked to, there was another woman years before that John had dated who lived on the next street over to her house.
And as you approach that area before you get to the flagpole, does anything remarkable happen?
They are making Karen nervous. Well, there was this other lady he was dating. She was pretty hot, hotter than you. Maybe he's over there. Okay. They're not making her feel better.
John had dated who lived on the next street over mom.
Carrie was quick to bring up, there's another woman he could be at, not just Bella's mom.
And then Carrie said, well, do you think he could have walked to, there was another woman years before that John had dated who lived on the next street over to her house.
And as you approach that area before you get to the flagpole, does anything remarkable happen?
No.
Okay. What happens next?
As we're driving down the street, I just say to Carrie, because she doesn't know where my sister lives, oh, her house is just at the bottom of the street.
Visibility still difficult?
Yes, awful.
What happens next?
We continue, driving, and we're driving slowly past, the line of, I guess, bushes and the flagpole area. And all of a sudden, Karen's screaming from the back, there he is, or something to the effect of, there he is, let me out.
Did you know what she was talking about?
I had no idea.
When she was yelling that, did you look out the window?
Yeah, we had our eyes peeled out the window.
Did you see anything?
Nothing but snow.
How long was she yelling about whatever it is she was saying?
Carrie,
Right, that's a great point. Digital says Karen's in crisis and they're listing. They're like, could be this lady, could be this lady. There's another hot lady he used to hang out with. Pretty much every street here, John had a lady on. But I don't know, maybe Karen.
And the flagpole area, just at the bottom of the street.
Visibility still difficult?
Thank you, Bubco.
Yes, awful.
What happens next?
We continue, driving, and we're driving slowly past, the line of, I guess, bushes and the flagpole area. And all of a sudden, Karen's screaming from the back, there he is, or something to the effect of, there he is, let me out.
Did you know what she was talking about?
I had no idea.
When she was yelling that, did you look out the window?
Yeah, we had our eyes peeled out the window.
Did you see anything?
Nothing but snow.
How long was she yelling about whatever it is she was saying?
Carrie, she screamed, stop. So Carrie stopped pretty quickly. There he is, there he is. She could have kicked the door, like, let me out of here.
And when she was kicking the door, what were you doing?
I was just like, what the heck? What is going on?
What happens next?
She gets out. Carrie looks at me and said something. I said, like, she's batshit crazy.
Oh,
Then what happened?
nice lady.
Then Carrie got out. Then I got out of the car, walked around the back of the car, and was walking like over to where I could see the girls were.
Now, at that point, you were in Kerry Roberts' car.
Yes.
It had his headlights on.
Yes.
Was it facing up the street of Fairview?
Well, we had come down the hill, so yes, up the street.
There was no other lighting in that area?
I do not believe so.
No fire engines or ambulances at that point?
No.
No police cars?
No.
Any street lights?
Nah.
It was dark.
When you got out of the car, did you look towards the area of the flagpole?
Yes.
Could you see anything at that point?
No.
No.
How close did you get to the area of the flagpole
Close.
before you could first actually see something?
Well, I saw the shadowy figures of Carrie and Karen, and it wasn't until I got very close over to them that I saw Carrie removing the snow from John's face.
Is that the first moment you realized that was John O'Keefe on the ground?
Yes, it was.
When you see Carrie removing the snow from John's face, what do you do?
I was frozen. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that was him just lying there.
Tell us what you're seeing.
What do I see? I see Carrie just wiping the snow off. Karen had straddled him and had lifted her shirt and his shirt and was laying on him, and Carrie was screaming at her to get off of him. And I was literally just stunned. I mean, there he was.
What did John look like when you saw him?
I couldn't see much but his face, because the rest was snow and Karen was moving over him, but he just looked like just him, but just like frozen.
What did you do?
At first, I just stood there for a minute because I couldn't believe it was him. And then Carrie Roberts and I made eye contact, and I knew. I was like, all right, I'm going to call 911. But I think I knew in that moment that John, was dead.
Did you call 911?
Yeah, I started to call 911, and Carrie and Karen were just screaming. And so I walked back towards Carrie's car, and then Carrie was also yelling at me to go to the back of the car to look for blankets and towels. So as I was calling 911, I was at the back of the car looking for the towels and the blankets to bring over to Carrie. And while I was doing that, I believe 911 answered.
Did you speak to 911?
I did, yes.
Did you get the towels and blankets that Carrie had requested?
I did, yes.
After your phone call with 911, and you had the towels and blankets, tell us what.
It's interesting, though, when she calls 911, so she has identified now in the story that it was her friend, John O'Keefe, snow wiped off him by Carrie. But when she calls 911, doesn't she say there's a man in the snow? We found a man in the snow. She doesn't say John O'Keefe. Feel free to correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. And I know we're going to hear that audio again, but didn't she say in the 911 call there's a man? But you know the man already is John O'Keefe. So if it was my friend, I'd be like, my friend is in the snow. We found my friend, or name him at least. That's interesting.
What happens next?
So after I called 911, I went back over to Carrie, Karen, and John. And at that point, Carrie asked if I would take over compressions. So she got up and I started doing compressions, and Karen was doing mouth to mouth.
When you
I love how they just act like Karen. She was lifting up a shirt. She didn't really know what she was doing. She's doing mouth to mouth or something. She might have been kissing them, showing them her tots. I don't know what's going on here. So Karen they act like Karen she doesn't know what's going on. She's hysterical. But she seemed to be the first person over there trying to warm him, do something for him. But she's so hysterical.
started doing compressions, were you?
I went back over to Carrie, Karen, and John. And at that point, Carrie asked if I would take over compressions. So she got up and I started doing compressions, and Karen was doing mouth to mouth.
When you started doing compressions, were you touching John over his clothes or touching his skin?
I don't remember.
Did you at that point get a chance to touch John's body and see how it felt temperature-wise?
I just remember when I was doing the compressions, I don't really know how to explain it. It just felt very funny.
I'm sorry, very.
That's a really interesting point, Buffy. It's literally in your sister-in-law's yard. There is your friend who is deceased, but you don't knock on your sister's door to be sure, like, oh my God, what happened here? Could there be someone in the house that hurt my sister, hurt my brother-in-law, hurt my niece, my nephew? It is interesting. And she didn't call her sister's house to see if John was there. Just weird.
It just wasn't like normal.
What?
I don't. I can't think of how to describe the way it felt when I was trying to press down, but it was like resistance.
How long did you try to give compressions and give aid to John for?
Until the police came.
Mr. Brennan, why don't we end here?
What? Otter was right. You ended in the word. Like, let's let her get this story out.
All right, Miss McCabe, I'm gonna need you back tomorrow. You can stay.
Auntie Bev is like, I'm getting tired. My bangs are getting a little greasy. I got to put some, what is that? Dry shampoo in them, kind of fluff. I got to zhuzh them up a little bit. Okay, I'm very tired. I'm going to end for today. I'm sick of all of you. Case closed. No, not case closed. Okay, Karen's guilty. Okay, no, I don't rule on that. I'm the judge. Okay, sorry. We're going to do a half day. We're going to do half. I'm going to say she's half guilty, if I can say that as a judge. Can I say that? You're half guilty. So Bev is done. Even the court reporter's like, girl, can we listen to the rest of the story? We are getting into the deets here. And Bev's like, my bangs aren't going to last that much longer. Okay. Do you see all the body in this hair? It's humid in this courtroom. It's very small, very old. Everyone's breath is getting in my hair. Jurors, just so you know, Karen's guilty. I mean, don't look up anything.
For today, I have to give you those same
I gotta go.
precautions.
We're
Please
going to the bar. We're gonna go down to the waterfall.
do not discuss this case.
So just so you know, there was a rock found in the yard when you went there, when we all went there to look at the 34 Fairview. There was a rock. Disregard the rock. It wasn't there before. So we're not going to redo the visit. There's too much, okay? My bangs can't take it. They're starting to hit the tops of my eyelashes, and that's when I know I need to call Great Clips to get a bang trim.
With anyone, don't do any independent research or
Don't independently research this. It won't make sense,
investigation
or it'll make too much sense.
into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. And again, please be very careful with your social media.
Very careful with your social media. Don't post about me, and don't talk about my bangs.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right. Bye, Bev. Bye, Bev. We'll miss you. Yeah. We miss you. All right. Let's see what Brennan's going to say. The fan, this damn fan. I just don't like the fan. We got this beautiful old building, and we got this ugly ass fan. Bev's like, they calling. They're coming warm up.
All right, Mr. Brennan, I'll hear you.
Your Honor, in light of yesterday's hearing with the ARCA witnesses, the Commonwealth is going to ask the court to preclude the ARCA witnesses from testifying both about any new testing.
Oh, hell no. Let ARCA speak. They're cuties.
Today's hearing with the ARCA witnesses, the Commonwealth is going to ask the court to preclude the ARCA witnesses from testifying both about any new testing and any new opinions, and secondly, from testifying about their original opinions turned over in a report prior to last year's trial. To be brief, what we learned or confirmed is that we do not have all of the discovery of communications. There was a court order for the ARCA witnesses to provide Your Honor with all of their information, phone records, text messages, communications about this case. Instead of providing their information to the court, they instead chose to send it to the defense and then it was summarized and provided by the defense to the court and to the Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
It appears to me that is not in compliance with
Not.
the court's order. What we learned during the hearing yesterday is that Dr. Wolf admittedly destroyed over 100 text messages. Now, he mentioned
Oh, but that's okay when your side does it. But the other side, don't destroy text. Don't destroy your phone. Don't sell your house. Don't rehome your dog. Okay. Don't destroy your text messages. Get the ring cam footage.
that he changed phone carriers, but then
He changed phone carriers. What about the two guys that destroyed their phone? One got rid of it on a military base. But he changed phone carriers. Maybe he found a better deal with Verizon than T-Mobile, or T-Mobile than Verizon. Come on, bro. Maybe he went with Mint Mobile. I don't know.
later admitted that he actually intentionally, for no apparent reason, destroyed the text messages in this case. And so what is left for your honor to look at is a summary of phone records from the defense and Archer's information that is
Archer.
passed through the defense to the court. You do not have the text messages. You do not have the content of the text messages. There is no summary of the conversations, dozens and dozens of calls between the defense and the experts. It is difficult to believe that
Only Jen McCabe can delete her searches. You cannot delete your text messages.
all of those text messages and all of those phone conversations dealt with simply logistics. In fact, we later
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain. It's interesting that he's like, it's sus, right? Yes. So is all of these Alberts, McCabe's, people's deleting stuff, getting rid of family dogs. That's sus.
learned during the questioning of Dr. Renschler, there is much more involved than simply logistics. But to get back to Dr. Wolf,
Logistic.
he did not disclose to the court that he was communicating and having conversations on Signal. How odd. An expert using Signal. Never used it before. Dr. Renschler said would not use Signal, never use Signal. But Signal, as we know, is an application that does not create a record.
You know
of
who else uses
communications.
Signal? These guys.
Dr. Wolf maintained on his direct that everything he did was logistics, even when we showed him the direct examinations with comments that asked for input from the defense to questions in a way that would be advantageous to the defense and to thwart the Commonwealth. Dr. Wolf
I
actually still continued to testify that that was simply procedure and logistics, never admitting the fact that there was, in fact, conversations or information exchange about bettering the presentation for the defense. Inevitably, I asked him about the sequestration order and how evasive he was. You simply have to compare him to Dr. Renschler, who's quite candid. An hour or 45 minutes with Dr. Wolf, difficult getting a straight answer. Dr. Renschler told us more in 5 minutes than Dr. Wolf told us his entire examination. And what we unfortunately learned is that during the trial, when this court had a sequestration order, information was being passed to the experts about witness testimony, in this case, unknown to the Commonwealth, unknown to the court.
Thank you.
Information,
Folks.
particular information, not general information, witness testimony, issues in the case. We have no idea who is deciding or identifying the issues and who the advantage is given to in describing those issues. But that is witnesses being prepped through an intermediary. So we know the Department of Justice, at least, is violating the order, helping the witnesses along, and then they testify unbeknownst.
You mean the DOJ is colluding, working together in some kind of corruption cover-up? But the Canton PD and the Alberts McCabes aren't? Okay.
To the Commonwealth that they have this information, but obviously is reflected in the testimony. In addition, I provided some clips to your honor for review.
Yes, do you want me to mark these as an exhibit?
Mock them. Do you want me to watch them? Because I got to get a bang trim. I told you guys I'm getting my bangs trimmed. Okay, I got priorities. I can't just be at this case all the time. Bev needs to have a life.
I do.
Okay, so
Canny,
this was in-
Relationship was not resigned to mere logistics. And so from that
Wolf had a very sexy relationship with Alan Jackson. Imagine it. I know I have. Hank Brennan. Imagine it many times.
subterfuge, what we stand with today is that we know that the witnesses were well prepared. We know that there was not true independence. And what we know is that they are refusing to provide the necessary information to support their original opinions that they gave at the first trial. They cited that it was a protective order. Perhaps it is. That has nothing to do with the issue. By calling the ARCA witnesses as their witnesses, they then have the obligation to comply with Rule 14. Unlike the first trial, where the Commonwealth had no ability to do any testing, review, vet the reliability of the information, properly prepare for cross-examination, this trial, that should not occur. Just because it happened last trial and the Commonwealth was disadvantaged does not mean it should happen this trial. And that is precisely why
Okay. So we got to the end. I got to end before 2 hours so I can make shorts out of this content. You guys are all beautiful, wonderful pumpkin spice babies. I'm going to be back first thing in the morning covering this. Well, maybe a little bit later. So we'll play a little bit behind. But until then, you guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment after the video posts, and always remember to enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Bye.
If you like what you see.